and a very warm welcome. I am Gushin Galan and you're watching Firstpost. In the next few minutes, I get you the top 40 updates from around the world, only here on Fast and Factual. Let's get started. Amid trade tensions between the US and China, President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping will speak today to confirm a framework deal transferring TikTok's US operations to American ownership. The agreement, reached under September 17 deadline, aims to avert disruption to the app's 170 million American users. Both sides describe the outcome as a basic consensus. Trump has shown interest in meeting Xi, while China is pushing for a summit in Beijing. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and US President Donald Trump met in Buckinghamshire during Trump's UK state visit. Starmer urged stronger pressure on Russia after drone incursions into Poland and ongoing strikes in Ukraine. Both leaders discussed a roadmap for peace in Gaza, with Starmer ruling out any role for Hamas and Palestinian governments. They also pledged to defend free speech, outlined plans to curb illegal migration, and discussed energy security with a mix of North Sea oil, gas, and renewables. At least 70 protesters, including 11 New York state and local lawmakers, were arrested during demonstrations outside a Manhattan immigration facility. The group sought to inspect ICE holding cells that a federal judge had flagged for inhumane conditions. Demonstrators blocked entrances and demanded better treatment for detainees. The US administration has withdrawn the sanctions waiver granted to Iran's Chabahar port, ending the exemption first issued in 2018. The sanctions, set to take effect on September 29, could complicate India's efforts to develop the port's Shahid Beheshti terminal. It is a key project for trade route between Europe and Asia. While aimed at pressuring Iran, the move is expected to significantly impact India's regional connectivity strategy. A drone launched from Yemen crashed in Israel's southern city of Eilat, causing a material damage but no casualties. Yemen's Houthi group claimed responsibility, vowing continued attacks in solidarity with Palestinians. Israel has responded with retaliatory strikes. Police used tear gas to disperse demonstrators in Paris as France experienced large union-organized protests against the government austerity measures. Large crowds gathered nationwide, urging President Emmanuel Macron and President Sébastien Lecornu not to proceed with proposed budget cuts and to increase public spending. Participants included teachers, train drivers, pharmacists, hospital staff, and students who blocked school in support. Authorities reported the deployment of 80,000 personnel. North Korean leader Kim Jong Un oversaw tests of new tactical and reconnaissance drones and ordered that their capabilities be strengthened through artificial intelligence. State media said Kim approved a plan to accelerate the country's unmanned aerial program, raising concerns about regional security. A small number of advanced F-35 stealth fighter jets have now landed in Puerto Rico, adding to the growing U.S. military presence in the Caribbean, aimed at targeting drug cartels. Videos and photos online show the jets arriving at base. These jets join U.S. Navy ships carrying over 2,000 Marines, along with drones and maritime patrol aircraft already operating in the region. In Bolivia, thousands of salaried miners marched through La Paz, setting off dynamite blasts to demand government action against illegal mining and the seizure of license concessions. The Federation of Mining Workers declared a state of emergency, warning of more demonstrations after a series of violent clashes at mining sites. And Albania unveiled its new AI-generated minister named Diela. The announcement was made in a video presented to lawmakers. Following his recent re-election, Prime Minister Edi Rama appointed Diela to oversee and award public tenders to private companies. This move is part of an effort to combat corruption. In climate news now, relentless rains have triggered major floods in Manipur, breaching embankments of Iril and Imphal rivers. Homes, farms and livestock across Wangoi, Meang Imphal and Imphal East have been submerged, leaving thousands stranded. Rescue teams are working non-stop through roads, hospitals and key services are underwater. At least one person has died while villagers face crop losses, livestock deaths and contaminated water supplies. Tropical storm Gabrielle is struggling to hold together in the central Atlantic. Satellite imagery shows the storm battling wind shear, according to the National Hurricane Center. As of September 18, Gabrielle carried sustained winds of 50 miles per hour and was about 755 miles east-northeast of the Leeward Islands. It is expected to track near Bermuda in the coming days. Canada's climate progress has stalled with 2024 emissions nearly unchanged from the year before. The Canadian Climate Institute warns the country is set to miss its 2030 target of cutting emissions 40 to 45% below 2005 levels. Current projections show cuts of only 20 to 25%. Rising oil and gas emissions have offset gains in electricity and building sectors. Prime Minister Mark Carney has faced sharp criticism after scrapping the carbon tax, suspending EV quotas and accelerating fossil fuel projects. Wildfires across Europe released nearly 13 megatons of carbon dioxide this summer. It is the highest in more than 2 decades, according to Copernicus climate monitors. Fires in Spain and Portugal drove much of the record, fueled by the Mediterranean's severe drought. Scientists warn climate change is making droughts longer and wildfires more intense, worsening the cycle of carbon emissions. European Union environment ministers struck a deal to present statement of intent at the upcoming UN climate conference. The 27-nation bloc pledged to cut emissions between 66.25% and 72.5% from 1990 levels by 2035. While Denmark hailed the agreement as unity, critics say it's a weak compromise that risks the EU's status as a climate leader. Most Asian indices were trading in red today, wrapping up a strong week for investors after the US interest rate cut. Traders are now watching closely for the outcome of an upcoming call between President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Japan's Nikkei turned negative during trading while the yen firmed after the Bank of Japan kept interest rates steady. South Korea's Kospi and China's Shanghai Composite Index also logged losses during early trading. Indian benchmark indices traded lower on Friday, with the Sensex and Nifty pausing after 3 sessions of gains, fueled by optimism over prospective US Federal Reserve rate cuts and progress in trade negotiations between New Delhi and Washington. Among the major laggards were banking and tech companies. Oil prices fall today as worries about fuel demand in the United States outweighed expectations that the first interest rate cut this year by the US Federal Reserve would spur greater consumption. Brent crude futures were down 15 cents or 0.2%, and US West Texas Intermediate futures were down 23 cents or 0.4%. The Bank of Japan keeps interest rates on hold amid lingering political uncertainty and economic concerns, but said it would start offloading funds bought as part of its earlier monetary easing campaign. The announcement came hours after official data showed inflation in the fourth largest economy slowed to 2.7% in August, with rice prices rises slowing following a sharp spike that rattled the government. Xiaomi will issue a software update for over 115,000 of its popular SU7 electric sedans to fix potential safety issues when its assisted driving features are used, a Chinese regulator said in a product recall notice. It is the second software fix to fall under product recall rules since the models launched last year. SoftBank Group will reportedly lay off nearly 20% of its Vision Fund team globally as it shifts resources to founder Masayoshi Son's large-scale artificial intelligence bets in the United States. The cuts mark the third round of layoffs at the Japanese investment conglomerate's flagship fund since 2022. Vision Fund currently has over 300 employees globally. Unlike previous rounds when the group was saddled with major losses, the latest reductions come after the fund's last month reported its strongest quarterly performance since June 2021. Wegovy maker Novo Nordisk has reportedly cut a US sales team focused on obesity and diabetes education. For healthcare providers in early signs of the drug maker's push to cut costs and regain ground on rival Eli Lilly. According to a recent report, the team, known internally as cardiometabolic educators, sat within Novo Nordisk's commercial division and included several hundred staff. Nvidia said that it would invest $5 billion in Intel, throwing its heft behind the struggling US chip maker. Just weeks after, the White House engineered an extraordinary deal for the federal government to take a massive stake in the company. Nvidia's support offers Intel a new chance after years of turnaround efforts failed to pay off. Chinese AI developer DeepSeek said it spent $994,000 on training its R1 model, much lower than figures reported for US rivals in a paper that is likely to reignite debate over Beijing's place in the race to develop artificial intelligence. The rare update from the Hangzhou-based company, the first estimate it has released of R1's training costs, appeared in a peer-reviewed article in the academic journal Nature. Google will integrate Gemini into its Chrome browser for users in the US starting Thursday, just weeks after a federal judge spared the company for a forced breakup in an antitrust case. Alphabet-owned Google won't have to sell the browser, a judge in Washington said earlier this month, handing a rare win to big tech in its battle with US antitrust enforcers, but ordered it to share its data with rivals to open up competition in online search. Moving to sports, we begin with cricket. Sri Lanka ended Afghanistan's Asia Cup run with a 6-wicket win in Abu Dhabi. Pacer Nuwan Tuasa sent the tone early, ripping through the Afghan top order with 4 wickets. But veteran Mohammad Nabi produced fireworks at the death, smashing 32 runs in the final over to lift his side to 169. In response, Kusal Mendes played a match-winning 74 not-out innings, sealing victory with 8 balls to spare. In football, Marcus Rashford made a dream Champions League debut for Barcelona, scoring twice in 9 minutes to secure a 2-1 win over Newcastle. On loan from Manchester United, Rashford struck with a header and then a thunderbolt from distance to give Barca control. Newcastle's Anthony Gordon pulled one back late in the game, but the Spanish champions held firm for their opening night victory. Manchester City began their title push with a convincing 2-0 win against Napoli. Erling Haaland hit his 50th Champions League goal from just 49 games, the quickest in history. Jeremy Doku doubled the lead, sealing 3 points for Pep Guardiola's side. For Napoli, the night marked yet another fruitless visit to England, extending a 13-match winless streak on English soil. Manchester United beat Brighton to qualify for the Women's Champions League group stage for the first time. United turned around their fortunes thanks to Norway's Elisabeth Terlen. The 24-year-old struck a brilliant hat-trick in just over 50 minutes. United's 3-0 victory sealed a 3-1 aggregate win over Brighton, sparking wild celebrations. Manchester United will now join Europe's elite in the inaugural 18-team group phase with matches beginning October 7. Argentina has been rocked by fresh controversy around Diego Maradona's estate. A Buenos Aires court ordered the seizure of $1.34 million in assets from 2 of the late legend's sisters, his lawyer, Marcia Morla, and 3 others. The ruling found them guilty of fraud in handling Maradona's brand. The court verdict sided with Maradona's children, who argue the estate should have passed to them after his death in 2020. Moving on to the world of athletics championships, Trinidad and Tobago key Sean Woolcott delivered a stunning 88.16-meter throw to take home the gold medal in javelin. Grenada's Anderson Peters wasn't far behind, securing silver with a distance of 87.38 meters. The bronze went to American Curtis Johnson, who impressed with 86.67 meters. The night showcased some of the closest margins seen in recent finals. It was a heartbreak for India in Tokyo. India's Sachin Yadav came within a whisker of a javelin medal, finishing fourth after a strong series of throws. Defending champion Neeraj Chopra, expected to lead the pack, fell short on the night, bowing out with an 8th place finish and a best of just over 84 meters. In badminton, star Indian men's doubles pair Satvik Sairaj, Janaki Reddy and Chirag Shetty sailed into the China Masters quarter-finals. In their round of 16 clash, the world number 7 pair beat their opponents from Chinese Taipei 21-13, 21-12 in 33 minutes. Star Indian shuttler PV Sindhu bowed out of China Masters. The two-time Olympic medalist suffered a straight game defeat in the quarter-finals. Facing the world number 1 An Se-young of South Korea, Sindhu went down 14-21, 13-21 in just 38 minutes. In tennis, world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz headlines Team Europe as they look to defend their Laver Cup crown in San Francisco. Fresh off his US Open triumph, Alcaraz joins Alexander Zverev, Holger Rune and Casper Ruud under new captain Yannick Noah. They face a team wall led by Andre Agassi, featuring top 10 players Taylor Fritz and Alex de Minaur. The showdown promises a thrilling battle of young stars and established champions starting tomorrow. And now finally, updates from the world of showbiz. Supporters of Jimmy Kimmel rallied outside Disney's Burbank Studios and LA's El Captain Theatre after ABC suspended his late-night show. The move followed controversial remarks Kimmel made about conservative activist Charlie Kirk, whose recent killing has inflamed political debate. Disney executives said the suspension was for safety and review, but critics called it censorship and political pressure. More than 400 artists, including Faye Webster, Kneecap Japanese Breakfast and Massive Attack, have pulled their music from streaming platforms in Israel. The campaign No Music for Genocide denounces Israel's war in Gaza, West Bank violence and political repression of pro-Palestinian voices. The boycott is positioned as a cultural stand against human rights violations and the music industry's ties to weapon sales. Taylor Swift's music is going non-stop on Sirius XM's new channel 13. Launching September 20, the station will run around the clock for nearly a month, spotlighting every era of Swift's career. It also coincides with the countdown to her upcoming 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl. Once released, the album will air in full every other hour. Director Celine Song's romantic comedy Materialist has become the first independent film of 2025 to cross the $100 million global box office mark. Starring Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans, a 24-backed film has earned $36.5 million domestically and $64.8 million internationally. The story follows a New York matchmaker caught in a love triangle. And Martin Scorsese is set to direct What Happens at Night, adapted from Peter Cameron's novel, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence in lead roles. The story follows an American couple navigating illness, adoption and eerie encounters in a snowy European town. Apple Original Films and Studio Canal are in talks to finance the project. That's all for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Gushin Galan and we'll see you right back here next week. Until then, stay informed and stay tuned to Firstpost.